Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another episode of The Cider Drinker. And a little over 13 years ago now, some random guy on YouTube decided to ditch his video gaming videos and decides to delve into the realms of cider reviewing. Namely, well, this guy right here. Yes, I have been doing this channel for over 13 years now. And do you know what? It was about time that I revisited one of my first reviews I ever did. In fact, it was the first ever review I did. Because, well, I mean, look at this screenshot right here. I mean, that is quite something, isn't it? It's amazing just going back to my earlier videos, just how much I've changed, not only as a person, but just how the channel's evolved over the years. And, well, do you know what? It was about time I decided to revisit the first ever cider review that I ever did, which is Thatchers Gold. Yep, Thatchers Gold was the first ever cider review that I ever did for the channel, and wow. I mean, I was a bit of a bum back then, actually, because not only did I not give a rating for this thing, but I drank out of the bottle. I mean, blimey heck, what was I thinking? And, I mean, the review lasted barely 3 minutes as well, so really wasn't what I would consider an actual review, to be fair. I mean, to be fair, I was young, I was sprightly, I was in my 20s, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I marketed this as my favourite cider ever, which was a very bold claim back at the time, but to be fair, going back 13 years, the cider market wasn't as big as it was now, so Thatchers Gold was pretty much one of the best ciders you could actually get from the supermarkets and in bars and everything. How times have changed. But does that necessarily mean that Thatchers Gold has changed over the years? Well, this is what I'm about to find out. So, let's just see if I remember Thatchers Gold as it was. So, for those that are unaware, Thatchers Gold is pretty much the flagship cider for Thatchers Cider Company. It's been around for donkey's years now. I mean, it's been on bars and supermarkets and everything for as long as I can remember. Comes in 400ml bottles and is 4.8% ABV, but you can get it obviously in bars and bag-in-the-boxes and whatnot. So it's available in cans and, you know, you can get it in all sorts of varieties. So let's just see what it says. Thatchers Gold is full of flavour, made with specially selected apples, many of which are harvested from our own family orchards in Somerset, made using traditional techniques and expertise gained since 1904. This crafted medium dry cider has a smooth and refreshing taste, best served chilled. Now, I do remember I did actually describe it as smooth and crisp back in the original video, so does it live up to that expectation? Let's find out. Let's waste no more time and just see if Thatchers Gold is as good as I remember it, because to be fair, it has probably been about 13 years since I've had a Thatchers Gold, so yeah, it's been a while. Well, the smell is just as I remember it, so yeah, I mean, Thatchers cider, Thatchers glass, it has to be. So, let's get this poured out. So yeah, I mean, I said it was my favourite cider ever, but I didn't actually give a rating. But I would imagine if it was my favourite cider ever, it probably would have been like a 9.5 out of 10 back then when I was doing ratings. But, right, well, there we go. So, I mean, that is keeping a very fluffy white head, actually. That's quite surprising. Although, to be fair, when I've had it before, it has actually kept a fluffy head. I mean, it is dissipating a little bit, but it's fairly heavily carbonated for a cider. And it's got, yeah, I mean, it lives up to its name. It is definitely a light gold, well, yeah, a light gold dark straw colour. So, yeah, it sort of lives up to its namesake there. So, let's see what it smells like. Okay, so, yeah, there is definitely, I mean, I thought this was just from the cans, but there is definitely sort of like a sort of slightly metallic-y sort of aroma there. There's subtle dryness, maybe a bit of sweet green apple on the nose there. I mean, overall, the smell isn't too bad. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say that it's the most inviting smell, but, you know, it is what it is. It smells pleasant enough, so let's dive in for the test. Cheers, everyone. Is Thatchers Gold as good as I remember it? Let's find out. Cheers. It's all right. It's all right. So, it's kind of hard to describe. It's sort of, I find this with ciders that list them as like gold. Like I did Rich's Golden Harvest, and I did there was another one that had gold in the title, and I do find those sorts of ciders are sort of a bit bland. They are a bit bland in their tastes. I mean, there's a little bit of a bittersweet apple flavour initially, but there's not a lot in the there's really not a lot in the finish. Now that metallic taste sort of does kind of transfer into the taste a little bit as well. I don't know whether that's just due to the overcarbonation of the cider, but it is slightly off-putting. The body is pretty light as well, which I would imagine is, attributes to, the refreshing quality of it. I would imagine a lot of pubs just cram loads of ice into the glass to, make it even more refreshing, but you're just sort of watering down the flavour there. But overall, there's not really much of a flavour, if I'm being honest. All I will say for it though is it doesn't taste sweet, because normally if you see medium dry on a bottle, especially in a supermarket cider, it tends to be more on the sweet side than the dry side. At least this has it going for it. It is actually dry tasting, so you do get an initial sweetness, but then dryness does come through on the finish and on the aftertaste and everything. So it does have that going for it. But unfortunately, it is just lacking a little something now. I've obviously had like hundreds and hundreds of different ciders now over the years. And Thatchers Gold is still not a bad cider. Is it my favourite ever? Certainly not now. But for what it is, it's okay. It's a good gateway cider for people that are just sort of like stepping into the cider market. It does have those sorts of flavours going on for it that attribute to a halfway decent cider. But personally, there are better ciders out there, like by a mile. But as I said, I even personally prefer other Thatcher ciders over this one now, like their Haze. I do prefer that one over their Gold, but it's all personal taste. I'm sure this is still people's favourites all across the country, and I'm not holding that against them at all, because it is still a fairly good drink. So I'm going to get a final taste before a final verdict. So, it does have a little bit of crispness. The body is still a little bit smooth, so that's not changed in those 13 years. But yeah, as I said, it is just lacking a little bit of oomph now, for me personally. But if you are just starting out, taking your first steps into the cider market, I can see Thatchers Gold being a really good first step into it. It's got all those characteristics to it, and it is definitely better than the likes of like Crapperberg and Longbow and everything. So yeah, I would definitely say if I was to say recommend a cider to you if you're trying out your first one, definitely don't go for those ones. Go for something like Thatchers Gold or something, because it is definitely a good first step into your ways into drinking cider. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. So for a final verdict, Thatchers Gold for me is going to get a 6 out of 10. It's absolutely fine for what it is, but as I said, there are better ones out there, and there are better ones from Thatchers personally. But I can see this being other people's favourites as well, so, it is what it is. So there we go, another cider drinker revisits, and I might revisit some of the older cider reviews in the future as well, so keep your eyes peeled for them. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you on the next cider review very soon. So whatever you're doing, I hope you have a cracking evening, and I'll see you soon. Cheers!